So yeah, I have not been posting consistently and I have not posted in a while, and I have a few reasons for why that is. So if any of you happen to read my community posts, I said something about how I'm going on vacation to try and take just a little break from this because I've been working on this channel and the light show and everything almost non-stop since the end of 2020. So I was supposed to have a nice little trip away from home and not have to worry about anything with the light show or videos and just take a break. That way I could come back again and feel like I'm ready to make more videos. But the opposite of that happened. I don't know how, but somehow at the end of the vacation I ended up getting sick, and I still am sick from it. It's not COVID or anything. I got a COVID test and it was negative, but I've had a sore throat, a stuffy nose, and now another wonderful thing, somehow I got an ear infection in this ear and I can't hear anything out of this ear. So if I'm talking super loudly, it's because I barely can hear on this side, so everything sounds weird. But I'm hoping to try and keep some consistency with the videos and upload at least every 2 weeks. I'm trying to do once every week, but that's not really possible for me, so I'm trying to do it every 2 weeks. But anyway, what I wanted to do in this video was give you an update about the light show. So 2 videos ago, I put out the teaser of what this year's light show is going to look like, but I didn't really explain anything. I just showed the video and what's going to be in it. So in this video, I wanted to clarify all the different things I'm going to be putting in, how everything's going to work, and I might even go into detail about what controllers I'm going to use and how I'm going to set everything up. So first up, right here, I'll show a picture of the 3D generated layout in X-Lights. This is what everything's going to look like. This is with all the lights on white. I'm not showing any sequences right now. And honestly, this year we did not add that many lights compared to last year's light show. In 2020, we had just under 500 lights, and then in 2021, we had 4,093, so quite a big jump. And then this year, we're only planning on having 4,500, but that does not include the bracelets. The bracelets I'll be talking about later, but right now I'm going to talk about everything on the screen right now and what has changed. There's 3 main elements that have been added this year to the light show. First off, there's now lights around the garage. There's also now these peace stakes, which I made a separate video about, and you can watch that either here or here. It will show up somewhere on the screen. And then the biggest thing we're adding this year is the RGB bracelets that I talked about briefly in the teaser video. So first off, all of the same props that are staying in the same place are the tree and the star. That is not changing at all. The 2 arches, or the 2 groups of arches, are not changing. All the lights on the house face and the floodlights there are not changing. The roof and the singing faces are staying the same amount of pixels and everything. And the projector is staying the same. Now this year there aren't going to be any lights on the fence, and we've moved the snowflakes. And the reason there's not going to be anything on the fence is because we took that down. So that way, hopefully, people at the show can see the peace stakes better. The snowflakes are still the same snowflakes from Gilbert Engineering. They're flake A, I, and K, if I remember correctly. And all 6 of them are going on the peak of the roof if we can get everything to work. We're thinking of using the same design for the snowflakes that we did as the singing faces, where we build a little platform for it that sits on the roof like this, and then the snowflake sticks straight up from it, and then we put a sandbag on it. That way there's no drilling into the roof or anything. And then the last things are the peace stakes. They're going to be spread out in the yard right in front of the arches, and they're going to be between where the arches and the fence was. There is 70 peace stakes, and they're going to be all the way to the left and right of the yard. And this is what it looks like in the picture. Now, it's probably not going to look exactly like it does in the picture. We're not going to get every peace stake in the right spot, but it should look around something like that. And you might be wondering, what is the dot at the bottom right of the picture of the light show? And that is the prop that we have to use to program the bracelets with, and I'll talk about that in a second. But now I'm going to go over how we plan on having everything wired and set up with the controllers. So our goal was to buy the new F48 pixel controller because that would work best for us. Since all of our props are spread out across the yard and on our house, we can put differential receivers everywhere, and it will work a lot better than having to run wires everywhere and use tons of data boosters and spend tons of money on wire. However, that did not work because the controller has not been in stock since last year, and I've been checking every other day since then, and it's still out of stock now. And if it does come in stock, it's too close now to the show, and if I buy it, it might not get here in time. So I decided to buy other stuff for the light show. So this is the way we plan on running the light show. We're still going to keep the 2 differential receivers under the tree, use the same power supply for the tree, and the tree is going to be the same. We are also keeping the F16 V3 in the garage, and that's going to be used to run probably all of these lights that are lit up right now. That's our goal that we're going to use the F16 V3 for. And then I went and bought an F16 V3 differential expansion board. It looks like this, and you can hook up to 4 receiver chains and 3 receivers a chain. And most of the lights are going to run off the differential expansion board and still use the differential receivers. That way, if the controller comes in stock next year, I won't need to use the expansion board, and I can replace it with a new controller and still use all the differential receiver chains. Our plan now is to have 3 boxes across the yard and on the house for the differential receiver chains. One of the chains is going to go to the tree, so the tree will no longer be running off of the differential receiver port on the actual controller. It'll run off the expansion board. Another chain is going to go to the yard, and we're going to have a box in the yard, and that's going to run the arches and all of the P stakes. And then the last box is going to be on the roof, probably behind one of the singing faces. That one's going to have 2 differential receivers in it. That one's going to run all the singing faces, the roof, and all of the snowflakes. That controller box is also, from our calculations, going to need to have 2 power supplies in it, so we're going to have 2 in there. And then the one in the yard is only going to have 1. And then the one under the tree is going to have the 75 amp power supply, the HP server power supply that we used last year. Now, the goal with this setup with all the different controllers is to have the least amount of power injection as we can, because that's really annoying to have. For the brightness of all of the lights, I'm either going to run it at 30 or 40% brightness. Last year, the show had 40% brightness, I think, except for the tree, because that was a lot of pixels in one area. Everything might be turned down to 30% brightness if it's really bright, but we are wiring everything to be able to handle up to 40%, so we can still use that if we need to. And now, the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for, the bracelets. This is not going to be a full tutorial about how they work. I am more than likely going to make a video about that in the future, but this is just going to explain the brief overview of how they work. So the main reason why I bought these is, for a while I've been wanting to put DMX stage lights on the roof, kind of like in Tom Betgeorge's light show. But they are very expensive, and if you buy the cheap ones, from the reviews I've seen, they don't work at all. And I don't want to spend around $5,000 on DMX stage lights. So I thought, what's another DMX prop I could use that I've seen other people use that is really cool? And I thought of something that would be really interactive, and I thought about using these bracelets. If you've never seen these bracelets before, basically there's a switch right here that you flip, and then a red light comes on, and it has 1 RGB pixel inside of here. It could change any color, and it receives a signal that can go, from what I've heard, a pretty long ways. I still haven't tested it. So people can wear these in their car, and they'll be synced to the lights. And they run off of DMX signal, so they're super easy to program in X lights. Now, these usually cost just under $1 a bracelet, and then you have to buy the transmitter, which is around $250. So I was trying to figure out where I should buy these from, what would be the best deal, so I don't have to spend a lot of money. So I reached out to Lights on Jacob Lane, and if you watch the channel for a while, you know I talk about him a lot. He was a light show that's close to mine, but he had to stop his due to a lot of traffic and stuff. But he was on The Great Christmas Light Fight, and in his episode, he used these bracelets.
And they are synced to your show. Who has wristbands out here?
So I figured he'd have a bunch of information about them and where I could buy them from. I asked him, and he was willing to sell his stuff with the bracelets and the transmitter and everything to me, since he didn't need it anymore. And all the bracelets were new. The transmitter was the only thing that was used. So I purchased those from him, and I now have about 66 bracelets and a transmitter to run them. This is the transmitter right here. Basically, you plug in power right into this spot right here, and then it has a RJ45 connector. This is where it takes the DMX signal in. And then I'm not really sure what this plug-in is for. This is a Type-C USB port. It says for programming. I'm guessing it's to program it, but I don't know how that works. And then there's also a little tiny light right there that turns on green when there's power, and it flashes green when it's receiving a signal. Then it also has this antenna, which can be adjusted, and this sends out the signal to the bracelets. The way you get the signal to this is you can run it right off of most Pixel controllers from Falcon Controller. I think you can even run it off from Cult boards and a bunch of other Pixel controllers. This is the F16 V3. It's on a board right now, so I can't move it. There are 3 RJ45 connectors, and one of them you can use for a differential receiver chain, and then the other 2 are DMX. So you plug the transmitter into one of these two and then set it up from the user interface on here. But this has an XLR connector on it, so you have to buy a converter, which I did off of Amazon, and it's this little XLR connector, and then it has an Ethernet port or an RJ45 cord that you plug in right on the end, and you plug it in right here. And then you have the RJ45 connector right there that you can use an Ethernet cable with to get the signal from the controller. And then the bracelets also have a battery in them, so if they die, you can unscrew it and take out the battery and put in a new one. This one right now has tape on it because I lost the screw, so this is my one that I use for testing. But you can unscrew it if there was screws, and it's like right there, and then take off the cover, and it takes 2 watch batteries. I'm not exactly sure the size. And then this might look very small compared to my hand, so you might be wondering, how do I get it in there? But the bracelets do stretch a really long ways, so you can make them fit on basically any size hand pretty easily. It doesn't feel tight at all. Now, if you do come to the light show in person, we're still trying to figure out how we are going to get all of these to anyone who wants them. We will more than likely have to charge some price for these. We're not going to charge anything over $5, but we will probably have to charge something. That way we can buy more next year. If, however, you don't come to the light show because you're watching on YouTube from far away from the light show, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get these in the videos of the light show. I might just put a box at the bottom of the screen and put a bracelet in front of it and show it lighting up with the light show, or I might just not include it at all. I'm still trying to figure that out. That is the overview of how we plan on running this year's light show, if everything works out. And like I said at the beginning, I'm sorry for not updating you and not being consistent with the videos. I do have 2 packages coming from 2 different places that I'm not going to say right now, but stay tuned for those because I'll have unboxing videos to show what's in there. If you have any comments or questions for anything that I left out in the video, feel free to leave them below and I'll try to answer as soon as possible. And leave a comment for what video you'd like me to make next. I'm thinking about making one about how the bracelets work, or about one how I program the light show. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.